No, Brett, I went live. We are live now.
How do I?
This is like this is like helping my mom with her iPad.
Brett, we should get you a jitterbug and just call it a day.
I'm so out of here, you guys.
No.
I'm so out of here.
No.
Oh,
Are we? Jill, take it away. We're live.
Hey, everybody. We're live. We were trying to loop Brett into it, but
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Super max close.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, Brett's gonna stay with us as usual. He is in the chat moderating.
We're more focused in on being on time than being right. And in my world, that means a lot. That's like a first date thing. Like she could show up in a wheelchair drooling, but she's on time. And that's where we are, Jill.
You know, it's we try to deliver the goods, but sometimes we're late to the party.
Right. You put it all into the films, not into the streams.
We're building anticipation.
That's right. If we were judged on our streams, it'd be, whatever the opposite of, go ahead.
Not a flash of beauty. So we have Brett kind of in the office moderating. He might flip the camera around.
He might. We don't know.
Some crazy sports show where he drops in and gives stats
or
something.
Right.
But I can't believe we just did this a week ago. Was that here? Was I on the road? Was that with Simeon?
No, we did have a week together. We spent it the day before I took off to Longview, and then we did some live streaming from there. So yeah, we were together. We were all together, and I was I remember it very well.
Okay. Well, I feel like a lot has happened.
So much is happening right now.
Thank goodness Brett has an endless supply of Legos because I'm married.
Okay, I'll raise you that, and then I'll put my dirty finger. There you go. I can see that. There you go. All right, the boys are done.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about. We had 2 videos drop in the past week that seem to be getting some traction. People really seem to be enjoying Tim Baker's videos. We can get into that in just a little bit, but first and foremost, let's talk about Squatch Fest.
Okay. Yeah, well, it happened, and we were a part of it along with quite a few speakers, some I hadn't seen in years. And everyone had a big smile on their face by Friday night. That much I remember. Friday night is kind of like the all-nighter, and everybody kind of walks in late on Saturday. But not T-Dog. I was up fresh and ready for you guys. And so we had 2 tables, which is always a luxury when you're a vendor. Doing a 10 by 10 with wood watchers and hoodies turns into a little bit of a combat situation. But not this round, Jill. In fact, I quite liked being a 20 by 20 space. I don't know how much everybody else did. I think they did. We had a lot of people come by our booth. And there was no drama this year. That's good. Everybody settled down. They do have a beer garden at Squatch Fest. Not every festival has alcohol or a beer garden, but this one does. And I did not partake, but it looks like some people did. And what do you think, Jill?
Not only did people partake, but as soon as they come in from the beer garden and kind of scan the room, the path of least resistance, the stumble line was right to our tables. So I don't know if that helped you with sales, but we had a lot of people coming by to talk to us.
Boy, I didn't even think of that. Like the closer you are to the beer garden in the evening, does that mean that basically $20 bills are falling out of their pocket and they're going to be more susceptible to like a quick sale of a wood watcher? Because that's like, I'm all in with that. I don't know.
That will be our strategy next year.
Okay. And I think we are invited back next year. I did get an email from, I believe, Bonnie. So thank you, Bonnie, for that. We'll be here. We're not planning on going anywhere. There was some news that was breaking in particular with some footage that I have, some new opinions on some, we'll just call it mystery footage, yet to be seen by the public. Brett and Jill have seen it. It's in the hands of a couple other people in particular looking at it. But I did hear about it possibly being a documented like fact or fake thing that was on like the Peacock network, and someone recognized it from that. Now, I can't find the provenance that this footage ever existed on this network or the talent or the TV show, and I should be able to. So still a mystery, but this is a pretty well-known person in the community, and they said no bueno, not real. And so that's really what we want to do, and I suggest everybody do that. Is if you have some really interesting footage, always figure out how they faked it. That's your whole goal, is this like, how did they fake this? This is really good. Maybe it's elaborate, but never go and just be like, oh my gosh, let's prove this is real. Because chances are most of this stuff is garbage. And so that's where I'm at. Some 5 years later, should I say, right? For everybody that thinks I'm a blabbermouth, some 5 years later.
But you know what's interesting about that footage is that it would have been, I think it would have been, you would see it on a regular basis on social media. People would be sharing it a lot.
Been my argument for 5 years. Where is it? I haven't seen it circulating.
No, and there might be similar, as we know, similar, footage that if you're not on top of it and you don't have it cataloged in the front of your mind, you might be like, oh, it kind of looks the same.
But it ain't.
Yeah.
But it tain't. So we'll see what's going on with that. Expert eyes are taking a peek at it, including Brett's. And Brett had some initial concerns about the speed of the footage, and I understand that. But, Brett, they're unbelievably fast, even when they walk, even more so than the mall walkers that you used to see at the Valley River Center. They're just moving. They're hustling. So that's what we're dealing with. And so that was what I took away. There was also some updates. We can't talk about this one, having to do with what happened in Skamania County. So that's a little bit of a thing that we're talking about privately, and we'll talk more about that down the road.
Yeah, as more details come in, and whether or not, we'll see how it unfolds.
And we really have to secure some time to do this because the witnesses that are coming forward with stuff like this in particular, it just kind of falls through your hands, and before you know it, 12 months has passed by and things aren't fresh. This is still relatively fresh. So this is like, well, it's snowing, it's crap weather, it's still time to go. And so that's the mode I'm in, is like, even if it's bad weather and we're busy, you guys are less than miles away than me. So we'll talk about that a later time.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like from last year at Squatch Fest, we met people there that we were going to interview, and we still haven't been able to coordinate just because schedules haven't aligned. So this is a note for Brett. We desperately need to get those people scheduled, because we have a couple a doozy of an interview.
Yeah, I love your hat. I didn't notice that you're Americana. I love it.
I'm just trying to.
What's the gal's name with the flags that are woven?
Oh, Harriet.
We got to get Harriet that hat. That would be like her inside joke. She
should sell them. Yeah, actually, no, I just got this when we were down in Texas.
Yeah, Buc-ee's?
No, it's not. Oh, did I buy this? Brett can chime in. Did I buy this at Monster Mart?
Oh.
Or did I buy it? It's some sketchy mini mart attached to a gas station. I think it was the sketchier mini mart. We try to support the hat industry at gas station stores. So
I want to thank Jack from Flash of Beauty Part 2, infamous Jack, for this beautiful ceremonial pipe and antler set with arrowheads attached to it. It's absolutely stunning. Thank you, Jack. Where are you at, Jack? Oh, there you are. Thank you, Jack, so much for that homemade, beautiful, museum quality, beautiful piece. I really appreciate it. And it will be a family heirloom treasured for years. I can speak, I promise. Okay, what else you want to get into, kiddo?
Let's see. I don't have my list in front of me. So we talked about Squatch Fest. We talked about
let's do a drone update here, just real quick.
Or lack thereof. Lack thereof, Tobe.
Yeah. What a wah-wah. Right, and this is how they open up their first press briefing, is with this little 3x5 card. That's all it could have fit on, with the little blonde perky gal saying, the FAA gave permission for these guys to survey nuclear sites, apparently, and survey at low elevation. Sorry. And that just, first of all, doesn't look good at all, based upon the fact that we're going to get to the bottom of it. And it's just like, moving on. And oh my gosh, in HD. You said, now, do you want to comment on this, Brett? I thought you said no bueno.
No, I don't want to comment on it. I just want to be famous. So I logged in so people can see me. So
Okay.
What's up? No, actually, I'll comment on it. I think it's
go easy, Brett. Simmer
I think
down.
it's a big secret, is what I think. No, I mean, it's weird because a friend of mine and I are both drone pilots, and little drones, not big, scary drones. And we've been drone pilots for over a decade, and we've been watching this whole thing unfold, obviously. And it doesn't make any sense that there's FAA lights on it. And they finally acknowledged that. Someone finally was like, oh yeah, there's FAA lights on it. So it's either a mimic situation, which isn't out of the realm of the possibilities, or it's us. But I don't think it's a foreign adversary, and that kind of clicks with what we just heard. But I think that the president of the United States at this moment is realizing that there's still is some national security concerns that he can't
unseen hands
can't talk about. And I think that he had a little bit more confidence going into this situation.
This is so the case with all the president's men, right?
Yeah.
They come in eager, like, I'm going to be the voice, from Bill Clinton to Obama to all of them.
Yeah.
And they come out within several, maybe less than 72 hours. And it's just like, nope.
Yeah. I mean, as we've seen, and I spent 2.5 years or so working for the Defense Department as a contractor. So I became sort of familiar with some of these, inner workings. But, the president, people think that the president has, the highest clearance, the highest top secret, and that's not true. He's on a need to know basis. Everybody in the armed forces is on a need to know basis. And if the president doesn't need to know, he won't. And this is very true and demonstrated during the Manhattan Project and whatnot. When Truman came into office, they had to brief him. He had no clue. I mean, that's the way our government works. That's how it's still working, because it does work. And so I think he can push as hard as he wants to, and there's still going to be secrets that are going to be kept from him and from us. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. Yeah.
And it's still an ongoing issue. People think this issue has died out. It hasn't died out. It's still a prevailing issue over Jersey. And it doesn't explain why they could be coming out of the ocean at all. No.
Unless they're being launched from submarines, which is entirely possible. So let's just say that they're being launched from submarines 15 to 20 miles out, and what people are seeing is the curvature of the Earth. Sorry, flat earthers out there.
Oh,
so it looks like they're coming out of the ocean, because there's, even at that distance, you still have a little bit of curvature. So it might appear, because you're going to see the bright light. It's just going to kind of lift up. So.
You got anything to add there, Squatch America? That's you, Jill.
Yeah, I figured between the
Nice
three
one.
of us.
Squatch America, they're great people, by the way.
They're close friends.
Yeah.
Do they have a? Do they have? They've got some Patriot Squatch swag, right?
They do.
Okay.
They do. Yeah.
By the way, I am not frozen. I look like I'm.
No, you're fine.
Solid.
No, you're
Okay.
freezing on your end.
I guess.
White balance. Yeah.
I guess my thoughts are, as it all just kind of bring it all back home. Let's look at how the American public is handling this, and let's think in terms of Bigfoot disclosure. How do we roll it out? How do we keep talking about it? At what point? It's just like people are continuing to have sightings, even though it's being, said this isn't happening, yet here we are, and people keep contacting us with their sightings. Are we going to reach a tipping point, or at some point do we have to does the government throw out some breadcrumbs or kind of just ease the story out?
I mean, we feel so far from the cryptid world with this conversation, and they constantly rename things to make them more manageable. And that's what worries me about this is these guys are the puppet masters of all puppet masters, and they get really nervous when somebody else is leading the narrative. So anybody from Greer on down to Elizondo, when they get really vocal, for me, I feel like somebody's feeding this narrative to them, because they would never allow people to speak so publicly about special access programs like this. You would be gone, however that is. I mean, 7 ways to Sunday, according to Schumer. And so this is where we are with this issue too. This is such an important world-changing issue that does it supersede? Is it interlocked with the Bigfoot conversation? I don't know. I think it's interlocked. I don't think it supersedes it. It's all part of the same conundrum. Am I wrong?
No, not at all. I think it goes hand in hand. And the question needs to be asked. What is more important, the Bigfoot conversation or the UAP conversation? Who is more of a threat, the UAPs or the Bigfoot? The thing is that what we don't know is we don't know what the Bigfoot are capable of if all of a sudden the script flips and Kunbo's out there with his shofar en masse and they all come out of the woods as tribes and it looks like Return of the Jedi, the Ewoks versus the Empire. It's like the Ewoks won, remember that? Because
that's right.
They outsmarted the Empire. So nobody knows. Is that a possibility? That's like pretty far reaching. But I like to think about far-reaching things. I mean, do they come into the streets?
Yeah.
And that book, De-Evolution, touches on this a little bit, which I don't know if I can recommend it, but it's basically about this.
It's a rough read.
It's a rough read, but it's about this group of folks that go live in this like technologically advanced community in the shadow of an erupted Mount Rainier. Somewhere in the distant future, and their neighbors, Big Feet, don't want these people there, and they show it, and it gets gross. It was written by the guy that wrote World War Z, Max Brooks.
Brooks, so when you say rough read, you mean violent? It's
story,
okay, but it's well written.
Pretty graphic of what could go wrong.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, and we all know that they certainly have the strength to do these types of things, but here at Flash of Beauty, our belief, based on all of our research, is that there's a few bad apples in the bunch, and we don't want to sugarcoat anything, but it's no different than human beings. Human beings are the most deadly, the deadliest animal on the planet next to mosquitoes. The amount of animals and other people that we kill every year is second to none in world history. I mean, it's just, I'm gonna stop.
It reminded me, there was a recent episode of Rogan. I've seen this guy, his name's Sands, and not Julian Sands from the Warlock, but it's something Sands. Rogan just interviewed him, and so did James Fox. It's in his last movie, The Program. This guy has an outrageous claim that in a place probably near, I would think, Nellis, the range, they came upon a special access program that he got invited to, probably near Groom Lake. Talked quite a bit about what was perceived as Area 51. And he wandered onto, in his Humvee, what looked like a man that had hypothermia. Did you guys hear this story?
No.
It's pretty incredible if the guy's telling the truth, but he talks about running into a man that looks like he's hypothermic with a full crew with him, and the guy's wearing a battle dress uniform that's just spit shined. But he's out in the middle of the desert where you don't wear your spit shine uniform, no dust on it, and no ears. In fact, that was one of the things that they all screamed, is that this man looked like he was hypothermic, had no ears, but immaculately dressed, and eyes is twice as big as yours, but kind of like all black. And I forget where I was going with the story, but isn't that incredible?
I've seen this guy at the local McDonald's, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember where I was going with this, but if you wandered into something like a Bigfoot, out in the middle of the desert or the forest, what is the perceived thing that you should, or how do you write a report up about that kind of thing? You know what I mean? Like, this guy seemed very honest. Do you have your security clearance revoked for you if you see something like this? In the case of the other witnesses, they all went catatonic. And we've heard that time and time again from Bigfoot witnesses, just like I couldn't wake up my wife. I couldn't wake up this person, right? Because they were out. And so there seems to be an enchantment that is done on these people to communicate with a specific person, and everybody else is out. And that was probably where I was going with the point, is this, like, you can't live to tell about these transformative experiences every time, because sometimes people are kind of put out, they get the Bigfoot anesthesia. So go check out that video. I think it just got uploaded on Rogan.
I just want to call out a comment real quick from Frosty Farmer 420, who says, "I am a second ranger at Fort Lewis. We knew about something living in the Olympics 25 years ago."
Here we go. There's the comment.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Can you go into detail privately or publicly there, Frosty?
Yeah.
Don't know if you can. Would be nice.
Somebody wants to know if Tobes took a hit before the show. LOL.
Did they?
Yeah. Jenny Larson.
Ha.
Oh, was it my story? Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. This is my natural look, Jenny Larson. Appreciate it for what it's worth.
Well, hey, while we have Brett here, I do want to talk about the 2 Tim Baker videos and how this all came to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna tease out what's coming in February. So originally,
yes, and real quick, Superfly is here. Hey, Superfly.
Okay. Yeah, I was just texting with him. He had a question about the second video. So yeah, we headed out to the south, and we had a few incredible interviews lined up, Tim Baker's being one of them. And I'll tell you what, it was a treat. It was, you go into a situation like this, we thought, oh, okay, we'll be with them for a few hours. I think we clocked in at 10 hours. It was 10 hours.
And 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you guys. So we were there for a while. Yeah. And it was a late night, because what happened after the tour came first, then we did the interview. And I want you guys to know that obviously there's edits in the tour, but I'm editing out like stuff that has no meaning. You know what I mean? We're always trying to give you as much juicy bits as possible, as much as possible. So anytime you ever see cuts and stuff like that, it's because we're talking about the weather or something that's entirely unrelated.
So we try to leave as much in there for context, just so you can get the full feel that, it isn't like nonstop craziness.
I will say this much though. Tim did do a few other calls, and many people out there may know that Tim is an amazing Bigfoot caller. But he asked us if we would admit those for various reasons. And so we obliged. But no, I mean, we got out there at about 1:00. We went on the tour. We did the interview, and then I think there was another, like, he kind of gave us his presentation that he's given in different places around the country, and that was another 2.5 to 3 hours. And we saw some incredible things in his presentation. So if you see that he's speaking anywhere, seek him out by all means. Tim is a great guy.
That was like the most informative, like in the grand scheme of all this Bigfoot research and filming. The day we spent with Tim was life-changing, I would say.
Yeah.
The amount of information that he shared with us was a lot.
Yeah.
And as usual, and I have to say this because people are always asking, well, where are the photos? Where are the photos? Folks, if you want to see like quality Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you prefer to call it, boogers as Tim calls them, go start attending conferences, start talking to people and making connections there, because that's when people start sharing the photos off their cell phones. And I know, Tobe, you can attest to this.
Right. Yeah. Like you can only see my secret squirrel footage at conferences. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he shared some pretty incredible audio with us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a variety of reasons as to why people don't feel comfortable posting photos. And all of you that are here tonight in the chat understand this, and some of you may not, but yeah, going to conferences, it's nice to have that face to face. You know what I mean? They know that you're not going to take those photos and put them online, and there's not going to be, ridicule and the whole 9 yards. And so,
control also, don't you think? I mean, you can kind of control where it is and where it's going.
It's much, much harder for us to get permission to use photos and videos than you might imagine. People just aren't really readily into sharing their photos. Audio is a little bit different, but I mean, at conferences, we have seen some pretty amazing photographs.
There we go. Take my mic off. I don't want you guys to hear my coffee mug, but it really is. Listen, it's a matter of synchronicity. Like I haven't talked about what happened this weekend, but I found a tree structure, and the land that was owned where this tree structure thing was found, the land matched a word that I'd heard before on my voice recorder in the middle of nowhere. It's a long story, but to me, that was enough synchronicity for me to start chasing after it. Those kind of things happen at conferences where you're kind of supposed to meet these people, right? Do you agree? Like whatever's going on here, these land spirits, Bigfoot, the phenomena, it kind of gets off on people meeting one another and putting these puzzle pieces together. Are they all worth chasing down? No, but there was things that came to our table that I would have never heard, especially when it has to do with some visits that regarded Franzoni. They would have only happened had we done a conference. And these things, they change the way you look at the matter of research that you have. They're exhausting because there is this kind of, first of all, you're standing at a vendor table or you're speaking, one of the two. And, a lot of fried food around. So it can be a little bit deadly after 2 days. So take care of yourself. But yeah, I mean, there's this psychic energy too, because you're getting a lot of I don't know, there's a lot coming at you psychically. So you kind of have to just prepare for it. Whatever Jill does, that's what we should probably do, because you're the only one that looks like unaffected by it.
I'm in my little bubble. I just imagine myself being like Bubble Boy, just playing Scrabble or Trivial Pursuit with George through the bubble.
The Bubble Boy.
But now we've got it down to a fine, and we'll get back to Tim Baker, but it's like a dance that we all do. We get there, we know where the stuff, you know what I mean? I never thought I'd be a vendor guy, but it's actually a lot of fun and I look forward to it. And so, yeah, but getting back to Tim Baker.
But just a quick note on that, and especially after we shared a booth at UFO Fest the year before last in McMinnville, we were like carnival barkers. We had a whole routine down to the fact to the point like at other conferences when you've been away from your table and people wander up, I've been able to like sell them on Wood Watchers or walk them evidence and stuff. And
oh my gosh, it's so good. And you remember your little line that you're saying there. But I want to go back to Tim real quick here, because Tim, he has a background that is just like second to none. So talk a little bit about this guy's CV, his bona fides.
Yes. So Tim talks about this in the interview, but Tim's was a NASA engineer, and amongst other incredible jobs. But Tim was working mission control for space shuttle flights. So he had extraordinary access and met extraordinary people, along with being an extraordinary person. And we're talking about, people like Buzz Aldrin and many of the shuttle crews and many astronauts. So that was really cool. I mean, he has the science background to back all this up. He's got an engineering degree from Auburn. And so, he is extremely credible. And the other thing that I'll say too is that somebody asked this in the comments. They asked, like if Tim's stories would hold up to law enforcement rigor. And Tim is married to former law enforcement, and his wife is she wasn't just a cop. She was like the real deal, like Secret Service, the whole 9 yards. So she definitely was skeptical until she had a full daylight sighting herself. So yeah, the CV is impressive. Let's just leave it at that.
But not just that, but just what an easy guy to listen to.
Yeah.
Also, once he got talking, he was just, it was so fun going on the tour, because we'd be driving, he'd be like, oh, there's the tree. Oh, one time over here, this happened, and he just kind of went through all this stuff. Really quick, though, I do want to read an email we got, and I got permission to share this as long as I did not mention names. And this kind of ties into last week with Tara and to Tim Baker. To whom it may concern, I'll be short and quick, as it's easy to figure out. On the documentary called Paranormal Bigfoot, Tara Harris Medium reports that the Bigfoot go by the name of Aolin, and that they have been here since the beginning of Earth. I find it fascinating. The word Aolin sounds a lot like Elohim. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. Elohim, Aolin, Elohim, the Jewish gods of Abraham. In addition, the documentary is an interview, but documentary called A Flash of Beauty, Tim Baker reports using a Jewish horn called the shofar to call the Bigfoot to him, and they seem to be ready for battle. I believe the Aolin people are the missing link we've been looking for. They are our ancestral creators. We are them. 1 + 1 =? What's happening now is our humans' first alien contact. Do you think that could be a connection? The Aolin, Elohim, is that or it just sounds familiar? Do you
No,
think
that's totally
just
where I think that's exactly where that should land. And people shouldn't be bashful to bring up scriptural connections with this phenomena, because there seems to be connections, right? Like this is where Ron Moorhead has gone with this too from the get-go, is looking into the giants of Genesis. It leads to this other territory of ancient place names where the mound builders were. This is where Marcia K. Moore is. Now, are we all calling it the same thing? No, the Native Americans had different names for the giants back then. And they didn't all look, I mean, when you start getting into the red-headed giant, it quickly diverts out to the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, Black Sea, below Crimea, right? Where there's been war and rumors of war for the last, better part of a decade. And so why is that? Are we going back to the times and the days of Noah? And so the Elohim is something that I think, now this is where we need to phone a friend with Ira, is that there's an angelic order to the things. And I think the Elohim are a certain part of like the seraphim and the the different cherubim. It's a whole angelic order, like the military. So I don't know. It's not Tara's wheelhouse to talk about faith or religion. She's just not in that zone. But this is what she got. And is it an interpretation of the proper name? I don't know. I think it's a good thing to mention.
Yeah, definitely worth mentioning. And also, I was contacted. I need to follow up with him. So I'm glad I just remembered and we're having this live stream. I was contacted by someone who was with Tim, with the group, when he played the shofar and the Bigfoots.
Describe what a
arrived.
shofar is. Or can you do an impression of you playing one?
It's a horn. I think it's ibex, and actually I can pull up a photo.
Is it like the Ricola
because
guy? What are we talking about? Okay.
No, at Squatch Fest, there happened to be someone who came by who has one. And let me just kind of pull up, because he sent me a photo of the one he had.
Pull it back. Oh,
And you'll see it's like a curved,
yeah,
horn.
like a Viking horn or something. Okay.
Ceremonial. Sorry about my lighting situation. And it was when he brought it out, it's, what do you think, Brett? Maybe 3 feet?
Yeah, 2.5 to 3 feet.
2.5, 3 feet. It was decent length.
Yeah, and they come in different shapes and sizes, but only certain ones can play the notes that you need to play in order to summon the Squatch.
Yeah.
Summon the Squatch. That's the fourth doc.
It's a great name for a horror movie.
Interesting.
Maybe you should make that.
Okay, so Tim talks about when he was finally able to track one down, he was practicing in the basement of like in the X-ray room
in
or
an
something,
old hospital in a lead-lined room. I don't know how he found that. That sounds terrifying.
Caution, I love it. And the gentleman we spoke with at Squatch Fest who had one, he's like, "Oh yeah, I play it all the time." He's also had some activity happen around the house. I'm like, or near the house, I should say. And we hope to be interviewing him soon, so we can link that story in and kind of expand on it.
Point of personal privilege, Your Honor. Just a quick question here. Now, after you got back, Brett, you said after speaking to a witness, I assume it was Tim, you said, "I'll never believe that the moon was hoaxed again." Is this the correct witness and his NASA connections?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Can we say any more, Jill?
Was this part of the after hours presentation?
Bit,
Here's something.
I mean,
else
am I allowed to say that?
know.
Did I just F up?
No, not at all. No,
Okay.
I mean, I just, because he talked about the moon landing.
Okay.
And he talked about what happened on the moon landing. And he was, like, for instance, he was telling us a story about how, I can't remember what mission it was, but, you see the guy, they left a video camera up there that's broadcasting back to Earth, of course. And the rover goes up to the top of this crater and it turns around, it zips right back, and the guys get in their spaceship and they take off, essentially. And I think, wasn't it, it was a very famous astronaut that told Tim, we never went back because we were told not to come back. And we've heard that before. I mean, that's kind of out there, but he was confirming it from the inside. I mean, he was, and he was talking about how the shuttle is not allowed to do a polar orbit at all whatsoever. It's not allowed to fly over Antarctica. It's not allowed to fly directly over the North Pole. We're talking about like, what's the term for it? Kind of an oblong orbit. You can fly over a little bit of Antarctica and a little bit of the North Pole. Whatever it is.
What about the dark side of the moon? Has that ever been orbited?
I mean, I think they were orbiting the entire moon.
Okay.
When they were up there before they landed. So yeah.
Okay.
That's been orbited a bunch of times. The rumor that we heard from a scientist who worked for some major universities, who's no longer with us, is he told us that he has seen bases on the other side of the moon through his defense contracting work.
It sounds like Richard Hoagland.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that crazy, but
If you guys haven't looked up Richard Hoagland's theories on Art Bell, he was a familiar guest to the Coast to Coast After Midnight, and he had a lot of crystalline cities, which kind of goes back to Terra, right? Like crystalline cities. Here's the deal: is this predictive programming stuff embedded in Hollywood? Has to be talked about more often because it's absolutely real. Like, we're not going to get into it right now, but like today I talked to a witness and he drew out a picture of a UFO he saw, and it literally looked like the same ship from Arrival. The guy had never seen Arrival, and I was like, that's the ship from Arrival. And if you've ever watched Arrival, that's a total psyop. Like, everything they're telling you here is the emotional contact with an alien species. They nailed it upon nail. It's not that entertaining. It's depressing, but at least to me. But the way they describe this world it reminds me like Blade Runner. Like, you'd never seen anything like it. And amazing. But this was like over Chimicum out, 45 minutes, the Arrival ship. So are they putting stuff in cinema that exists? So it's the laugh factor. It's like the perfect psyop, just like, oh, you know what I mean?
We may have an answer for that, Tobe.
Well,
yeah, I believe you might.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it until it's out.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But we did an interview.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. And we get an answer.
Okay. I'm glad you did. Any closing? Yes.
But hey, what I wanted to say also, a couple things about Tim's interview specifically. Another reason to get to conferences and speak to witnesses in person. I've found that 9 times out of 10, the most interesting stuff, the oh my gosh, why didn't you say that on camera stuff, happens after we turn the camera off, and then we get into other discussions, and that's what happened with Tim. And I really hope we get to sit down with him again for like another installment based on other research he's doing and other experiences, because the paradigm, when people say, oh, my whole paradigm shifted, it was, I think, Brett, you were struggling a little bit on the drive back to the hotel. You're like, what?
Well,
must make room for new information.
The one thing that I was having trouble kind of like wrapping my head around, and I'd heard it before, but I think I'd read it. I don't think we had ever talked to an eyewitness that had seen it, is that the boogers in the South, the Sasquatch in the South, tend to run away on all fours. They like 8 feet on all fours. And we talked to 2 witnesses who saw that, and those stories will be coming up. But that really kind of tripped me out, and it makes a lot of sense because they're so tall, and now they're so low to the ground. Great way to get out without being seen if they can't cloak or whatever. So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But last thoughts on Tim. Brett, can we talk a little bit about when we went out with him and the rock throwing thing?
Yeah, we don't know if it was a rock or an acorn, but I don't believe those trees had acorns currently.
No, there was nothing like that. But there was like a good probably 4 to 5 inches of dead leaves everywhere.
That particular object, we'll call it an object, foreign object, whatever it was heavy. You could feel it hit the ground, and it went through the leaves, and it kind of bounced.
It went boom, boom, like right, but it landed right in front, because I was standing kind of off to your side, and you were next to Tim. It just landed like right in front of you.
We were standing there in real time. I mean, you see, I cut a couple of things out, but not much. I mean, we were standing there for quite a while, and it only happened once. So it wasn't the type of thing where we were in a season where the trees were dropping things. Right. We didn't hear anything like that anywhere at any time. And the audio was there. You can listen to it, And then all of a sudden, the plop, boom, boom. And then there was the other thing that I want to address too is that there's this clapping or clacking. And it sounds like rocks clacking together.
That's common.
There was a house on the other side of the point, and we heard people outside. And so I said, well, there's a house. I think it might be a house. And Tim agreed with me But it was a couple of weeks later. No, I know what it is. I was going through the Sierra Sounds and I heard the exact same clacking. Literally, like that same kind of pattern. I didn't put any text up there to call that out in Tim's tour because I didn't want to take away from the moment, but that was super interesting too.
Do you want to give some context to what? Because most of the people in the chat, they've heard the Sierra Sounds, but they may not know what you're talking about.
So as we're working on the film, the Sierra Sound film, Voices in the Wilderness, we've been transferring cassette tapes. So here is a cassette tape from the Sierra Sounds recorded by the men up at the camp.
Well, hold on a second. Is that a sound that anyone's heard before out in the public?
Yes. So
Okay.
there are sounds on this tape that people have heard that was released, first of all, on a 45, and second of all, on digital mediums and in Ron's CDs and that kind of stuff. Here, this is another tape. This is a newer tape. So I believe that this is a copy of probably what was recorded up there. But we had some originals that we transferred. And when Ron and Al released those sounds, they picked and chose the sounds they wanted to release. So you didn't get everything. They didn't release all of the sounds.
Right.
And so there's other things that are there, and that we'll be hearing some of those in the documentary.
Jeff Rohn here. Could clacking be a vocalization? What say you, Jill?
I don't know. It seems, I don't know, Occam's razor. The easiest answer is usually the right one. Like, why wouldn't they clack rocks together to
communicate?
Yeah. It had kind of like that tenor, I guess, if that's the right word.
Right. And I know sometimes it was the toilet seat, but the toilet seat and the rock clack may be kind of close. I don't know.
Yeah. The toilet seat thing I just listened to. And what Tobe's talking about is the toilet seat that at the Sierra camp, Biggie or one of the other Sasquatch found the toilet seat and they were like, bum, 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 slamming it down, dong. Which is what I sometimes do in the middle of the night.
Right.
Wake Jill up.
My problem is clacking the toilet seat up. I always get a lot of complaints about clacking it.
That's how we vocalize to each other in the house.
This happens. Yes.
That means your pizza rolls are done. I love it. Well, that's great.
Is that the same Sierra Sounds that the language specialist broke down as a legit language? Yes. Scott Nelson did that, and we will be talking to Scott Nelson. We were supposed to be there a couple of weeks ago, but it was too doggone cold, and we needed to film outside, and our cameras don't like negative temperatures, and neither do we. So we're going back.
Right. That might have been more the answer.
Yeah. And
all right.
And one last thing real quick. This is a little off topic, but our buddy Mike, cinematographer Mike, who many of you have seen and or met, who kind of, he doesn't show up on the podcast very often, but he has recently had quite a bit of surgery on his foot, actually, his big foot. That would be a size 12, I think Mike is. And so, keep some positive vibes for Mike for some fast healing and not a lot of pain. And yeah, so.
Well, Mike, it's the price you pay for looking into foot issues on film. Now you've got a little skin in the game.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. And
that's right.
Stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Any final thoughts on Tim? Should we close that chapter and tell everybody to go watch it? It's over 100,000 views on both videos. So it's people are watching it, a lot of correspondence happening, maybe a third chapter. We don't know. And you guys, for the first time, captured stuff on film that's happened. Well, not really, because stuff happened with Tara Harris as well. So you caught stuff.
Look, here's the deal, you guys. Tim has never investigated west of the Cascades in Washington State, the #1 state for Bigfoot sightings, nor has he ever set foot in Oregon. So we should try and figure out a way to get Coonbo out here to the wild Pacific Northwest, because that might be interesting.
Coonbo.
I'm
Huh?
just
I want to
putting
go back down to the south. I mean,
Yeah.
that was such a quick trip, and
Yeah.
there's so much more to see and do down there. We have our work cut out for
I know
us.
we only went to one Piggly Wiggly. We need to go to more.
It's true.
More pigs in your wigs.
Mhm.
What do we have coming up here, guys? We do have some events heading our way here. We should talk a little bit about that. One coming up in particular in March, right?
Yes, March 14th through the 16th, Bigfoot weekend in Baker City at the Geyser Grand Hotel, the historic Geyser Grand, which may or may not be haunted.
It is.
No, it is.
It is.
It is.
It's like ectoplasm dripping off
Yeah.
the reception desk, Jill. Everybody knows it. Go on.
We've got stories. We'll save that for another show, though.
Jill, we have encountered said ghost 3
Yeah.
or 4 times ourselves.
Yeah. No, it's like you'll be in the room and like the air isn't running and the chandeliers, you're like, something doesn't seem right. And the chandeliers will start kind of moving and stuff. And you're just like, ugh.
March
That's
14th through
You guys
16th.
got to come out. Yeah. Come
And
out.
so we can get, so let's talk about who's going to be there. Ashley is going to be there. Jeff Roan's going to be there. Angelique Benham's going to be there. Tobe, me, Brett, and James Shupsky. It's going to be a great time, and we might be showing some clips from new documentaries.
Ooh, little teasers to get you on out to
Ooh.
Baker City. And it's
So-
squatchy. It reminds me a little bit of the old Cottage Grove kind of feel, like old timer, gold miners, people still out in their hills kind of deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very interesting area. Very interesting area. Lots of Bigfoot sightings in the Elkhorn Mountains and the Blue Mountains. Barb Shoup could tell stories for days about the Bigfoot that she's encountered in the Blue Mountains, which is, within about 50 miles. The Elkhorn Mountains are literally like the backdrop to the Geyser Grand.
I think Paul Freeman, his footage and his experiences were just kind of due north of Baker City.
Yeah.
Maybe just on the other side of the border.
Correct. Yeah.
I wanted to mention too, there's a Bigfooter that disappeared from YouTube. It was kind of a viral guy before the pandemic. His name is Nathan Rio, and he suddenly returned out of nowhere, fresh off of a divorce. He's pretty public on his YouTube channel that things didn't work out. And so he's got free time. He's actually out here in the Olympic Peninsula. Hey, Mr. Rio, look me up. We'll have coffee. We'll exchange a few conversations about the hairy man, the hairy lady. So if that's out there, I also wanted to thank the cool person that gave me this amazing patch here. Look at that. Ooh.
They printed it backwards, right?
Yeah, let's fix that. Here, we'll flip the mirror here. You know how that goes, right, Jill? There we go. Now you can see it.
I feel like we've been cheated this whole time, Tobe.
You have been cheated. Also, we have something coming up here with the closure of the Axe and the Fiddle. I just want to make mention here. The Axe and the Fiddle in Cottage Grove, where I used to do my Strange Brow radio podcast, a lot of where we talk about in Cottage Grove was this little tiny micro brew bar. They finally folded, and so now it's like a hippie market, like a shishi hippie market where everything's in bulk, that kind of place. And so unfortunately the Axe and Fiddle is no more. Sam Bond's Garage, same owner, is no more. You kind of have to be a Eugeneite to understand a lot of those things, but good luck to all those people. Also, Sasquatch Summerfest is coming up here in July. We do have an addition of Tara Harris, who will be coming out hell or high water to speak at this event. Also, Tom Cantrell. Tom, if you haven't had a chance to meet Tom Cantrell, Tom is probably one of the smartest guys in the Bigfoot world. He's mechanically smart, like engineer smart, scientifically smart, but also a woodsman. And the stuff that he breaks down scientifically reminds me of what Ray Crow did with the Bigfoot Field Guide. He knows a lot of the math when it pertains to ratios of footage. and why things can't be fake like the PG film. So if you get a chance, Tom Cantrell, Sasquatch Summerfest, SasquatchSummerfest.com, July 11th through 12th. Again, there's the Area 58 Museum, which is going to be the overflow area for people to go. Also the area where you RSVP and get your tickets as you're coming in on the very squatchy town of Oak Ridge, Oregon. I do want to mention real quick, Olympic Strange Days, the tickets will go on sale on Valentine's Day. That's going to be at midnight, a limited run, 40 tickets, 10 for RV campers, and the other 30 are for you guys who are going to bushwhack in a tent. It's in little town of Beaver, Washington. Be a Beaver believer. Valentine's Day, RSVP, those tickets. And look who's going to be speaking here. We actually have Tara Harris ×2. Now, I'm bringing up Tara twice because of the fact that Tara is just a force to be reckoned with on YouTube. And we really want to focus on her ability to go out and do readings in the public with people instead of, having her 9 to 5. The ultimate goal is to get her to do this as a profession. And Jill and I have been talking about how to do that privately. I think this might be the way ultimately to do it, is to kind of put her out in front of a crowd more and more and see where things go with that. So Tara will be live embedded as one of the field experiencers. Also, Jill coming out of the closet with her own intuitive ability to talk about said things. I don't know if you and Tara want to work in tandem that time.
Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun. Do like a makeshift gallery.
And I
type
love
thing.
the Russian spy look here. I had to put it. The secrets you would get, right? And look at what I did here. I put little Erin Jackson and her Mossman ways. She'd never spoke at a conference, but I need you, babe. Let's go. And so she's going to be talking about her Green Man encounter. And then, of course, more from you guys in the proximity. Sorry about the low resolution here, Brett. Voice of the Wilderness and Sneak Peeks and Flash of Beauty 3. The crew from Resonance Production. And the last one I'll plug here real quick is coming up. What I do with my little slip of paper. Oh, here it is. I just finalized us presenting, or at least me and Mike, at the Mount Hood, it's reading backwards, Mount Hood, Oregon Resort, April 11th and 13th. So if you're anywhere on the Columbia River Gorge, Mount Hood Sasquatch Festival, April 11th through 13th, you can scan those QR codes, just freeze the frame on the live stream. Go check it out. I imagine tickets aren't that expensive and should be a lot of fun. More Flash of Beauty stuff going on there too. Beautiful time of year to be under Mount Hood. I mean, I don't know that area, but April 11th, is the snow gone?
Not necessarily.
No.
That's pretty low elevation.
The road should be clear. The road should be clear.
You're familiar with this venue? Is this venue pretty well known?
Very well. Okay. Very well known. It's actually in Todd Neese's old neighborhood. He used to live down the street from that, but now he's moved to the south.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a neat area. My grandparents back in the 80s used to own a condo there, actually. So.
Oh, nice. It looks like, it sounds like a big facility. They're talking about chalets and blah blah.
It's huge. It's beautiful. It's squatchy. I know from talking to Cliff, there was a really nice trackway that was in there last summer. Some mountain bikers came upon pristine stuff. I don't exactly know where it was, but it was within 3 or 4 miles. Mm-hmm. So it's a very squatchy area. Yeah.
And I just saw real quick here, Derek, you're saying Axe and Fiddle is still open. So phooey me, I thought I was informed. I was informed correctly. I do know, Brett, next time you are down that way, can we mention Bigfoot Fudge? No? Okay, but next time you're down that way, for obvious reasons, there is a new arcade, like a quarter slot arcade, downtown Cottage Grove, retro arcade, like Stranger Things, authentic. Whoa. They just put it in on Main Street. There's a line going down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed that I don't live there. I would be playing Galaga like 24/7. That was
Wait a minute. Why can't we mention Bigfoot Fudge?
I don't know.
No, the work in progress.
You have a
Oh,
work in
We
progress.
can always
Yeah.
talk about Bigfoot fudge.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because everybody and
Everyone
their
needs fudge.
families need to go see Johnny at Bigfoot Fudge in Cresswell, Oregon.
Yes, that's
Stop
what I was
by
going
and
to
see him
say.
and pick out some fudge. Yeah. No.
Nice.
I mean, we are trying to keep it to ourselves, but we can only eat so much fudge.
It's not like we have like a bunch of secret. It's kind of maybe annoying for the audience. We can't talk about it now. We got the secret squirrel stuff, but I get it. Like there's some things that we can't talk about. I just bring up stuff that we shouldn't talk about. That's the problem. Is blabbermouth here?
It's a not talk about. It's not a not talk about. It's a shouldn't talk about.
It's things in development. We have things in
Yes.
development we're working
Yes.
on. So
Otherwise, we
there's
open all of your
exciting.
Christmas presents right in front of you. So
Yeah.
I
There's
don't want to do that.
timing. So
All right.
what else have we got?
What else, Jill?
I don't know. Get ready for the snowstorm that's about to hit the Pacific Northwest.
Or
What?
so they say.
Oh, I do want to mention
Fingers crossed.
Tic Tacs that I had signed by Travis Taylor. I just found those the other day in my luggage. I think he thought it was funny.
Nice.
Tic Tacs. Show and tell. All right.
So,
that's all I got. Brett, what do
for
you?
those Tove, for those folks out there that may not have gotten the reference, do you care to
Tic Tacs from Travis Taylor? Yeah,
expand?
Tic Tac, of course, is Commander Fravor's sighting off the USS Nimitz. I'm talking to the nerds out there, Brett.
I know.
And,
I just want to make sure. There could be. I just want to
Yeah.
be fair. There could
Travis
be people.
Taylor over Skinwalker Ranch. They
Yeah,
encountered the
okay.
Tic Tac too. Anyway, I couldn't find Fravor, so Travis Taylor had to do. And that's
Cool.
it from on my end. Any final thoughts?
No, I just want to thank everybody for showing up in the chat. I see Dave Ryan. Big shout out from
Yeah,
Vancouver, Washington.
187 people. Whoa.
Big shout out from Hillsboro, Oregon. Dave.
I'm getting a lot of people texting me privately, and I'm trying to keep up with texts coming in from multiple people and this. So I will address everyone who's texting me, who's in the chat, and
Is everything cool? Okay.
There's been somebody.
Yeah. It's just it's a triangulation of
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody named Watched in the chat is saying that their mother is in the hospital with congestive heart failure. So keep some positive thoughts for them and everybody else out there that's dealing with some stuff.
Yeah.
Send vibes. Send positive vibes.
Take care of yourself. Yeah, I'm going to get back into cold water therapy because if you don't use it or freeze it, you lose it. So I'm going to use it and freeze it.
That's
right.
My
plan. I'm going full cryogenic here.
Yeah. You guys be healthy. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. You can't go squatching. So, yeah.
All right, y'all. That's it for me.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next week, gang.
Good night.
Soon.
Night.